Hello, my name is Trenary, and I'm making a video game. It's called FOLDY'S OS QUEST. It's a 3D platformer that takes place inside the wonderful world of personal computing, and the Steam page and trailer are both live right now. I've been working on the game since May of last year, and it's been really exciting seeing everything come together. And I'm even more excited to finally start getting the game into people's hands and spreading the word to see what everyone thinks. But let's slow down and rewind a bit. How did I get here, and what exactly is this game all about? If you've been following me on YouTube at all before this, which, let's face it, you probably weren't, you'll know that I've been passionate about gaming for pretty much my entire life. I've always had a huge amount of appreciation and admiration for the people that bring us the games we love, and all I've ever wanted to do is make games too. So, I went to school. I studied how games are created and designed. I worked with a lot of insanely talented people on several student projects, and I learned a ton. I was even lucky enough to go to GDC in 2022, which was a life-changing experience on its own. After 4 years, I finally got my degree, and I couldn't get a job. I spent probably a year and a half just applying for internships and jobs at studios all over the country, and either getting rejected after months of waiting, or being ghosted entirely. It was a pretty disheartening time, to be honest, and unfortunately for as valuable as my college curriculum was, it left out some key elements of the actual industry, such as, this is how you format a cover letter, this is how you put together your portfolio. So, I had to learn the hard way through quite a bit of outside research and even more trial and error. I did eventually get better at presenting myself to employers, but this is an extremely competitive industry, so it still wasn't easy to find a job. Lucky for me, though, as I was getting ready to graduate, some college friends of mine were starting their own independent company called Surprise Studios. And by the way, those guys are currently working on a game called Forklift Fury, and it's really fun. You should totally check it out. They were kind enough to not only bring me onto their latest project at the time, but also to share some of their connections with me within our local game development community. This led to an internship where I learned even more crucial game development lessons and made some new friends, and to game jams that eventually helped me land my current full-time job. Going off script for a second here, game jams are the absolute best and most efficient way to learn and meet new people, so if you're an aspiring game developer and you've never done a game jam before, that's step one. Definitely do that. So I was finally at a place where I could fully support myself and my future wife, but I still had a creative itch that I needed to scratch. And I felt that after all of my previous student projects and other roles, I finally had the skill set and resources I needed to create and release my first fully independent project. So, what's the deal with Foldy? FOLDY'S OS QUEST is a 3D platformer that takes place inside of a Windows-inspired desktop computer. Think late 90s, early 2000s. Each level is themed after a different aspect of personal computing, from classic desktop games to social media, clickbait articles, office software, and everything in between. There are countless inspirations that help make this game what it is, and I like to think that there's a little piece of everything I'm a fan of in this game, with a few key influences. 3D platformers have always been my favorite genre, and I thought it'd be fun to do something kind of like Astro's Playroom, which takes place inside of a PS5, but with more of a Y2K digital aesthetic to it, and with levels that are more heavily themed around software rather than hardware. Twerp's recent album Digital Nightmare was also a big inspiration. I love the way it blends the wonder of personal technology with a sort of looming existential dread over how it's used, and explores not only how humans feel about tech, but also how tech might feel about the humans that use it. The game is a real labor of love, and I've been having an absolute blast putting it together. I've also been fortunate enough to have some extremely talented friends of mine help out on certain aspects of the game, and thanks in no small part to their contributions, it's shaping up, I think, to be something really fun and special. Now, the game isn't gigantic in scale by any means. Since I am doing this mostly by myself, I wanted to set the scope relatively small from the start, stick to that scope as much as possible so I could actually finish it, and polish everything that is in the game as much as I can before release. I'm planning on having 7 main levels, which would amount to the length of about one world of a bigger game like Astrobot. But in order to drive replayability, each level has a secret bonus level that can be unlocked by collecting all of that level's file collectibles. Completing these extra challenges will unlock new moves for the character, which in turn can be used to make speedrunning the levels with the in-game timer even faster and more frantic. I'm a big fan of the way companies like Nintendo continue to reward players that search every last corner of their game worlds, making sure that exploring and being a completionist is always rewarded in some way. I also have a lot of love for Sony's platforming family. When I played Crash 3 as a kid, I thought it was so neat that you could unlock permanent additions to Crash's moveset that make repeat playthroughs feel fresh again. I thought my system would be a cool way to marry those two ideas and make the game fun to revisit again and again. I'm also a really big fan of emergent gameplay. The idea of players breaking my level design and pulling things off that I might have never thought possible is something I'm genuinely hoping to see, because I think the idea of a community taking a game that's meant to be played one way and making it their own is really damn cool. I've been working on the game in my spare time for almost a year now, and I've been gearing up to finally announce it over the last handful of months. I started a company with a logo by the wonderful Davis Hill and commissioned the game's key art from one of my longtime favorite artists, Kevin Fogaragan. They both did phenomenal work that made me more excited than ever to keep pushing ahead. At the time of recording, I'm also preparing to take another trip out to San Francisco for GDC this year, where I'm hoping to get some feedback on the game's current demo. If you're going to be out there too, don't be afraid to come up and stop me if you want to try the game. I'll be wearing this shirt, so I'll be kind of hard to miss. I'm really stoked to finally be able to talk about the game publicly, and I'm looking forward to sharing more over the coming months. If you guys like this kind of video, I would definitely be down to make more like it, answering any questions you might have, or talking about the process as the game gets closer to the finish line. And if the game does look like it could be your thing, please be sure to wishlist it on Steam. That's the biggest way to help us have a successful launch. You can also follow us on social media or subscribe to this YouTube channel for future updates and trailers. This is the first time I've ever tried my hand at releasing a game commercially, and I'll be doing everything I can before launch to make sure it's the best it can be, so your support would mean the world to me. It's just about time for me to get back to work, so for now, let me leave you with a piece of advice from one of my college professors that's stuck with me for years now. Do what you said you were going to do. I've always wanted to make games, and there have been plenty of times over the years where it seemed like getting to the place I wanted to be was never going to happen. But I stuck to my goal, took advantage of every opportunity that came my way to learn and work with other creators, and now I'm making something that I'm really proud of. Whether or not it will be successful on a larger scale remains to be seen, but regardless, creating the game has been incredibly personally fulfilling and refreshing for me. And right now, that's more than enough to keep me moving forward. So, if you've got a goal of your own, don't be afraid to keep chasing it. Connect with others like you so you can lift each other up, keep learning and getting better at your craft, and whatever happens, if it makes you happy, don't ever stop doing the thing you love. Thank you very much for watching. It's been a really exciting journey so far, and I hope you'll join me along the rest of the way.